Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Be Free podcast. And this week we're really looking at tips to navigate the darker months. So, if you're in a country which is moving into winter and the daylight hours are getting shorter, I really hope that this week's episode is going to really help support you um, as we navigate and change routine. So I do apologize, change of seasons, and I am going to be covering immunity and winter well-being. You can hear I've obviously got tickle in my throat. I have my chamomile tea beside me and honey and also my water. So apologies if I sound a little bit croaky on the podcast this week. Um, so yeah, I've written a blog about this as well, so you can find all the links over in the blog, and I will share all of those in the show notes here as well. But often the winter months can really begin to feel, or not even the winter, as we head towards the end of the year, life can begin to almost feel like it's speeding up. There's a lot of expectation, commitments, things we think we need to get done before the end of the year, and it can really add to what's already feeling like a shortening of your day. So in the UK, the daylight hours have just changed. We've changed our clocks. And in other countries as well, where the light begins to diminish, it can really have an effect on us, feeling like our days are so much shorter. But hopefully, through this episode, you're going to get some hints and tips to help you really make the most of that and move in a more cyclical way so that you can embrace and enjoy these times of the year as opposed to fighting them. Now, when the light begins to fade and we begin to experience less light, I just wanted to touch on the topic of seasonal affective disorder, which is often known as winter depression. And that really is caused by the daylight beginning to disappear and having less daylight in our eyes. And it can cause symptoms such as low moods, low sex drives, craving really carby, sweet foods, just feeling irritable, a desire just to sleep, like to sleep longer, sleep during the day, feeling despair, a whole host of different symptoms. But as I was preparing for this podcast and thinking about those symptoms, I was reminded that, from a cyclical point of view, many animals, of which humans are, we are an animal at the end of the day, um, go into hibernation at this time of year. And ultimately, nature is really guiding us to slow down, to rest, to hunker down, just to really use this opportunity to preserve our energy, conserve our energy. And we see that reflected in nature. We see that with animals such as bears or, badgers. They begin to slow down their metabolism at this time of year, dormices. There's all sorts of animals that go into hibernation. And I think sometimes as humans, we can feel like we're immune, right? We're not animals. Like somehow we're immune to the cycles of nature and the cycles of the world. But ultimately, we cannot remain in spring and summer all the time. Each part of the cycle is necessary. And I really want to encourage us to embrace each season as it arrives, as we're within it, for the magic that lies within each season, and not try and make it something it's not to keep powering ahead, when we're really being guided to slow down and rest. So, all is not lost. I have some incredible tools to support us at this time. And I turned to a book that I loved. I read this a few years ago, and it is the Book of Hoga, which is I'll touch on Hoga in a bit more, but basically, this book was written by a Danish gentleman who was a researcher of happiness. And Denmark is one of the happiest countries in the world. And this country, similar to ourselves, goes from having about 17 hours of daylight to having only 6 or 7 in winter. So if the Danes can be the happiest country in the world, then let's learn some hints, tips, tricks from them. And yeah, they've created something called Hoga, which is actually a Norwegian word, but um, translated, one of the translations is this coziness of the soul. And I absolutely adore that. I mean, really, there is nothing better than like being all snuggly, cozy inside, with the wind, rain beating outside and you're wrapped in a blanket having a hot chocolate. That is ultimate like Hoga vibes. So we're going to touch on that a little bit in this episode, but also just to share some well-being ideas, supplements I take, nutritional support, all sorts of different things I wanted to touch on. So let's start with immunity. Take a sip of my tea. So I mentioned I've got honey in there. So yeah, local honey can be really, really supportive at this time of year. But yeah, the changing of seasons, the lack of light, change in temperature, can really cause this drop in immunity, and we become more exposed to different bugs and things, respiratory infections, and just generally feeling a little run down. And often that comes from, freewheeling with the summer vibes into not the summer season and trying to keep doing it all. But during this time, I really like to be proactive towards wellness. So looking at things like nutrition, sleep, time and daylight. And some of the things that have really helped me are things like my Lumi alarm clock. So my sister brought me this a number of years ago to support me, and I absolutely bloody love it. I'll pop a link in the show notes. The one I have is quite basic, it's not expensive. Um, but basically, what it does is it wakes you up naturally with light, as opposed to just suddenly being thrust into darkness with your alarm clock meh, 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 screaming at you like, oh, triggering your nervous system. This really allows you to wake up with light. And I have found that so, so helpful. Along with that, at this time of year, I do use a sad lamp. Again, I'll hook it up. I can't remember the name of the make of it. It's not an expensive one. I got mine from Amazon. But these are designed to share daylight with you, to support your body's circadian rhythm, to really help you recognize the difference between night and day. The sad lamp helps reduce. So when it gets dark, our body produces melatonin, which helps us sleep, which is great at nighttime, but not so great when it's dark during the day, because then you're going to feel sluggish. So the sad lamp really helps boost the serotonin, the happy hormones, and boost the melatonin. So it can really help you feel more alert during the day. And then, of course, you can have a nice evening wind down routine at night to support that sleep as well. So I find that really, really helpful just as we move into the darker times of year and just supporting our internal body clock. Obviously, getting out in daylight is going to be the winner. But I recognize that for some people at this time of year, you're leaving for work in the dark and you're coming home in the dark. So using something like a sad lamp in the morning, maybe just having it beside you when you're having your breakfast can be really, really helpful. Um, but ultimately, trying to get out for a walk in the daylight hours is really going to be so supportive to you, not just for the daylight, but also being in nature. And this is what I was saying, we feel so far removed from nature when we are nature itself. So when we can begin to immerse ourselves, even if that's for a 10-minute walk in your lunch break, just witnessing the change in nature can help support you recognize the change in season in yourself. So do allow yourself where you can, time in nature, especially at weekends, get outside, enjoy that time in the seasons. And I currently have switched up my work day. I know that this isn't possible for everybody, but so that I can work when it's dark and get outside when it's light. So I am working later in the evenings and earlier in the mornings, but I am enjoying being able to walk my dog and have time with my horses and stuff during the day. And also for my own mental health, I find that really, really beneficial to get that time outside. And yeah, so I mean, it could be things like other things you might want to consider. You could switch around if during the daytime you're like, oh God, I've got to get that washing done and I've got to get this done, like household chores if you're at home, why do you need to do those during the day? Like, do them at night. Do them at night. Do it when it's dark. Do it, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., whatever, and enjoy the daylight hours. So you can switch it up. Remember, we don't have to follow this hard, fast, let's work 9 to 5, and this is how life has to be. You can choose to switch up your routine. Um, Obviously, I realize you might not be able to have the flexibility that I have, but there will be elements where you can switch it up. And it really does help make you feel more peaceful and happy. So I do encourage you to have a little think about your routine and how you can do that. Okay, next up, nutrition. So, my family and I had a little cough and sniffle on Saturday, and I was like, right, full scale mother nature mode kicked in. And we had got the diffusers on, taken elderberry syrup, echinacea, chaga, and I'll go into these in a little bit more detail, but yeah. I love being, that is a bit reactive, but I typically love to be proactive at this time of year with regards to our health. So, taking elderberry syrup and elderberry, I used to buy mine through Neil's Yard. Unfortunately, they don't have that anymore. I'll hook up one from Amazon that we've been using. But it's really packed with vitamin C and antioxidants. So it's going to try and support you at this time and just giving your body that boost. The same with chaga mushrooms. I use 7 chaga mushrooms in apple cider vinegar. I will pop the link to the website there. They're a local company, it's sustainably foraged, and it is an incredible antioxidant, antiviral, anti-inflammatory. So I really find you just put a drop underneath your tongue. I do it in the morning, pop it like little line up, pop it under my husband's tongue, and do that, and that we find that that's really really helpful. I also use doTERRA's On Guard. So On Guard has, again, it's really like high antioxidants. So things like clove, cinnamon, things like that are there to help really support our immune system, antiviral as well. So I will diffuse that. I actually popped it on my throat last night and just at my lymph nodes. I use doTERRA, I think it's called Air Stick now. It used to be Breathe, and this is like a roll on, a bit like Vicks. And I popped that on our feet last night and on our chests, and also had the diffuser going with frankincense, eucalyptus. I'm like, I will not be beaten. I really cannot stand being ill, and my husband is the worst patient as well. So we're like, right, on it, popping essential oils on Lily's feet at bedtime. So that's some of the things that you can do proactively as well. You don't have to wait till you have something going on respiratory wise to do that. Um, Other recommendation, final one, nutrition wise, is a vitamin D supplement. So vitamin D is made by the daylight. Um, and our skin. Now, obviously, if we are not receiving sunlight, then we're not producing enough vitamin D. And the UK government actually recommends that everyone within the UK takes vitamin D during the darker months. So I use a supplement by Better You. You just spray it, one spray in the side of your mouth. It tastes like peppermint. It's really, really quite nice, quite palatable. Again, I'll hook that up for you. But vitamin D really helps support our mood, supports our bone health, fatigue if you're low in vitamin D as well. So again, if we're not getting that naturally because we're not being exposed to sunlight, then supplementation of that can really be beneficial at this time. It's a great one for perimenopause as well to take vitamin D for our bone health, mood, fatigue. Ticks the boxes. Um, so my question, Anne, is so mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, how can we enjoy winter? And one of the questions and things I like to do is to think about what can I do in this season that I can't do at any other season? So what might that look like for you? Is that, you know, thinking about near Christmas time, like going to a Christmas market? Is it going for a walk with friends, followed by hot chocolate, kicking some leaves? Like, can you create some new traditions? Is it going gathering conkers with your kids? Um, is it, yeah, just what can you do at this time of year? Like, so one of the things as well, like reading a book. I love reading a book under a blanket with a fire on, and that's something I feel like you can't really do in summer because you have that like summer guilt, like, oh God, I should be doing something. In winter, you're like, no, it's actually dark outside. I have like no guilt over lying on the sofa, reading my book, having the fire on. Equally, if you don't have a fire, and my sister messaged me from Australia and she was like, I'm thinking of you because I used to always just put on YouTube and have a scene. So I would have like a seasonal video in the background, and sometimes it's got like jazzy music or whatever of like leaves falling, autumn leaves falling, or an outdoor fire, those kinds of things. So I love creating these little magical moments for myself that yeah, we can do. The other thing I would suggest is to use your evenings proactively. So the thing is, like, you come home and you just think, oh God, I just want to lie on the sofa. It's so bloody dark outside. I can't be bothered doing anything. So the other day I was reading and then I just started scrolling and I was sitting on my phone and then I'm like, what are you doing? Like you can't be scrolling for like the next 4 hours until bedtime. So I actually went and I cleaned my bathroom and I went and did a little bit of an online course that I'm studying. And I was like, oh my gosh, I felt so much better. So what can you do during this time? Do you have like an indoor hobby? Maybe you like to crochet. Maybe there is a book you want, all those books that you've bought that you think you don't have time to read. Like maybe this is the time to read them. So just thinking about getting those twinkly lights on, getting those candles lit, and doing stuff that you want to do. Is it having a Zoom with a friend? I don't know. Like, have a little think about what you want this season to look like and really get intentional about making it happen. Now, it's not easy to stop the scroll and get off the sofa, but once you do it, honestly, guarantee you're going to feel so much better. So, start thinking about things that you can do that are going to feel super yummy for you. And you write a list. Is it going for your first pumpkin spice latte? Go schedule it. You've maybe had a million, million by now. When my sister came over from Australia, that was one of the first things she wanted to do, pumpkin spice lattes, because they don't really do that there. So what is that? It's a wearing your favorite cozy jumper. Like you'll see me on Instagram and podcast, probably wearing this jumper and the other cream one that I have for most of the season, or my green one. Just love like wrapping up cozy. Is it taking a nice long bath? So just start slowing things down, but like doing the things you love, like really nurture yourself, feed your soul, that whole get coziness of the soul. What does your soul want? Does it want long walks? Does it want baths? Does it maybe want to go for a nice hot stone massage? Or like, I don't know. Check in with yourself and really begin to schedule, get clarity over the things that you want to do and start mapping it out. And yeah, get creative, get your diary out and start booking in those things you want to do, booking in the people you want to see, booking in the days off, like booking like nothing, writing your diary, do nothing. Yeah, don't allow your diary to fill up with other people's expectations. You create this beautiful life that you desire and create spaciousness and slow down. Take time this season to begin to slow things down, to rest, to reset. As I say, get those candles on, make that cacao, get that cozy blanket, like, enjoy those frosty mornings and starry skies. I went out with the dog last night into the garden and the sky, the stars were so bright. It was such a joy. It really does delight me. So what parts of them watching geese out the window just now, flying in their V. So what is it about this season that delights you? And I would love, like, tag me in social media, drop me a message, let me know. what is it about this season that delights you, and what are you going to do differently this season so you can really, really make it magical. Um, so I hope that this inspires you on these darker times and can make this year more enjoyable for you. If you have any questions about anything, do reach out. I'll pop all the links of stuff that I've mentioned in the show notes. If there's anything I forget that I've spoken about, then please, please, please do reach out. Um, but yeah, go get snuggly. I've got my cacao here, which has turmeric, local honey, ginger, all the things in it. Keep that immune system. I will not be beaten, and I've managed not to cough through the whole podcast. Woohoo! Amazing. So I am sending you all so much love. I have some beautiful guests lined up. So I will hopefully get their podcast recorded, edited, and shared with you guys too. But sending you so much love from my heart to yours. Go enjoy the cozy vibes inside and the frosty vibes outside. And I'll speak to you all soon. Bye, my loves.